I'm gonna wait a minute for a few people to jump on. And I'm gonna share this a couple places. Let's see. Hello, David. I'm just sharing this a couple places while I'm about to blow a gasket. I'm gonna let a few people, hi. Okay, sharing it one more place. And then we're gonna talk. Because apparently my publisher is still trying to hijack my book. And I am fuming. And yeah, I got this news like about, I don't know, hour and a half, maybe 2 hours ago. And I was like, I'm going to wait until I calm down, but I'm not calming down. So I'm just going to go ahead and go live with this. And if y'all can share this, because this needs to be known. For one, this publishing company is supposed to be a Christian-ran publishing company. And they're not acting in any way Christ-like. So anyway, yeah, oh no. So I'm going to give a quick, just a quick history. So there was a publishing company, and originally there was another lady who was with the one lady who's still at the publishing company. And I knew the other lady. I had met her before, through the work with Loving You Where You're At. I knew that lady, and I trusted that lady. And they had, sent out an email stating, they were this publishing company, blah, blah, blah. I went and met with them. Long story short, obviously they charged money to publish your book, but they agreed that, they wanted to be the ones to share my story, and that, hi, Betty, hi, Carlene, and that they would, do a pre-sale campaign to help raise the money that it would cost, for the editor and for them to publish the book. So anyways, we signed a contract, and in the contract, there were many things that were stated that did not happen, and I'm not going to get into full details of the contract because we would be here all day. But basically, there were many things that they did not do. And so one of the things they didn't do is my book was I took a sabbatical, and thank you. And yes, please pray. And thank you, Betty. And yeah, Betty has, actually went round and round with this publisher. But anyway, a lot of people have. So I had taken a sabbatical, 2017. I had taken a sabbatical in August. I had taken time off because we were supposed to have my book. The publisher said my book would be released that October, because the Just conference, they wanted to have my book release at the Just conference. Well, nothing happened. Thank you, Carlene, while I took my break. So I took my break for nothing pretty much because, it was due to being able to, yeah, Betty, I am. And they just sent me an injunctive relief this morning, which I'm going to get to. So, anyway, they ended up, postponing the publishing, postponing the release date. It didn't end up happening in October. So they decided that it was going to happen November 30th. After switching the dates numerous times, they pushed the launch date out to November 30th of 2017 and said that we would launch it in a Barnes & Nobles. So when you're publishing a book and you're working with an editor, you go back and forth. So they have your book, and then the editor will do, editing of a chapter, and then she'll send it back to you to look over. And then you have to get it back to her. Well, because we were on such a crunch, we had a deadline. I'm going to move the comments out of the way so I don't get distracted, and I will come back and, I will come back and look at them. And so, because it was a rush, because I had to have all of, when she sent me the edits, I had to approve them or reject them and get them back so that we would be ready to launch my book in time, for November 30th. So in the process of doing that, when the editor would send me back, Each part, as I would read over it, it sounded great. It was accurate. And what I did not realize until the very end, when I got the final manuscript for my book, and when it was too late to do anything, there was like 3/4 of my book that was taken out. And at that point, it was the final manuscript that was already sent in for print. And we were on a crunch time because it had already been publicized that the book launch was going to be November 30th at Barnes & Noble's. So November 30th comes and they call me into their office that day and, you know, to get a video of me being the first person to look at my book. And when I look at my book, I realize that it says No Safe Place, but the subtitle, From Childhood Abuse to Sex Trafficking, was not on the book. And so she admitted that that was her mistake. So I just kind of tried to let it go over and make a joke of it and be like, hey, whoever gets the book now or whoever had bought the book and did pre-sales or pre-order, you just got like a special edition because there will never be an edition like this that doesn't have the subtitle. So anyways, time starts progressing and I'm getting emails and messages from people who had purchased my book and they were not receiving the books that they purchased. So I was going back and forth with the publisher. They would say that they sent it, and many a times they had not sent it. And I still have to this day people who have purchased my book when it first came out, or either they ordered it pre-order, and that was November 2017, and they have still not received their copy of my book. So as time goes on, part of the contract was that they would do so many pre-publicity things. So we would do so much pre-media before the launch, which they didn't do. And then after the book launch, they would do post-marketing. So there would be media, which they didn't do. I had the 700 Club contact me they wanted to do my story, and they didn't even know that I had a book. So that didn't come from the publisher, and any media that I ended up getting, but maybe a couple of local news channels, which knew me anyways, had come from the publisher. But even when I would say to them, certain people that I think, hey, you should probably reach out to this person, they might be interested in having me on there, da-da-da-da-da. They would even say to me, now they're supposed to be the ones doing the marketing for my book. They would have me write the letters to whomever I had suggested and be like, oh, that's a great idea. Why don't you write the letter? Wasn't my job. So as time goes on, another thing that was supposed to happen is I was supposed to get 100 copies of my book whenever it was released. I did not get those. Another thing that was supposed to happen is I was supposed to be able to buy my book, my story, at wholesale cost. And that way I would be able to get them at wholesale. I could take them into the girls on outreach. I could take them to my events. I was supposed to be able to have my book for my events. None of that was happening. So I had a couple big events that were coming up. They weren't showing up with my books, or they had minimal amounts. Not to mention, which I don't think I have an original copy right here, not to mention, the cover that they did was horrible. It showed every fingerprint. When I would go to sign my book, it would, with any kind of pen, it would make an indentation. It was just horrible. So we had even discussed that. I'm like, why can't you just have it printed in matte or do something different? She agreed, because the coloring would come off the cover. She agreed that, the cover didn't look well and that they should probably try and, go through another printer, whatever the case may be. So I have all these events coming up. I'm not getting copies of my books from them. So I purchased 100 of my own books. And we were going to go through another printer and we were going to do them matte. So I paid for 100 books when I should have received, the rest of my first 100 books. I think maybe I received 50 out of that 100. I purchased 100 books because I had a couple of speaking engagements that were coming up. There was a church that I was going to be a keynote speaker for their women's event or their women's conference. So I went ahead and purchased 100 books so that I would be sure that I had them for this event. As one of the events got closer, I didn't have my books, and I had reached out to them, and they said, oh, it's taking a little longer, but as soon as they're back from print, we will let you know. So, and it was only supposed to take, I think, 12 days to get my 100 books. So a month and a half to 2 months passes, and I have the women's conference coming up. Still no books. So I reach out again and I'm like, look, I have purchased these books. I have this event coming up. Do you know how it feels to be like a keynote speaker? People know that you have this book. They're expecting to be able to buy your book there, and I don't have it. They end up forwarding me an email from Ingram Sparks stating that the reason that I didn't have my 100 books that I paid for is because they were negative with Ingram Sparks. So because they were negative with Ingram Sparks, they wouldn't print the books. Well, they also couldn't get them printed through a local printing company because they owed them money. Around this same time, I started hearing, because I had shared publicly on social media, and I started hearing from people who had purchased my book. One lady said that the publisher hand-delivered the copies of my book to her and talked her into some advertising thing where she wrote a $2,500 check to the publisher, never got any advertising, never heard back from the publisher. Also, I had heard from another author that, well, not the author herself, but I had heard through mutual friends that this person asked, it's very bad business. This person asked, how's Krista's book coming along? I'm having some issues with the publisher. I wasn't able to get my 100 books because they owe the local printer money. So, I am, and I also have had an attorney, which I'm going to get to that. They are crooks, and they claim to be a Christian company. So anyways, at this point, the publisher and I have went back and forth. I am infuriated. I want my rights back. Y'all have, fell through on many aspects of the contract. I just want you to give me my rights back. I want to have rights to my book, my story, a very personal thing that I, was just stripped away of everything, and things that, I had not even remembered. As you're writing a book, all of that stuff resurfaces. So I go through all of that and that vulnerability, and write my story and entrust you with it. And you basically re-exploit me and you hijacked my book. So we started going back and forth, and then it got to a point to where they would not speak to me anymore. And so I contacted an attorney. So last year, 2018 in June, I had an attorney who wrote them a demand letter. And in that demand letter, they had until July 20th to respond. And then they had until July 31st, I believe it was, to give me my rights back. And not only my rights, but to give me some compensation, because I have not seen one red penny from my own story. From any of their sales, I haven't seen anything, and they have well over, in the beginning when my book was released, raised the cost that it was to publish the book, because there were people that were sending in, lump sums of money to help with the campaign to publish the book. So the lawyer not only sent the demand letter via email, but also via certified mail. It was also delivered. And the publisher did not respond to the demand letter. So July 31st comes and still no response from the publisher. And so my attorney and I were talking, and she's like, they're not responding. So I even emailed and I said, hey, heads up, you were supposed to respond to this by the 31st. We haven't heard anything. What's the deal? Are we going to need to take further action? Didn't hear anything. So I even attempted to reach out by phone, and whenever she would get on the phone and realize it was me, she would hang up on me. Due to the fact that there were people going on and leaving reviews on their web page, she blocked me. First of all, she made it to where you could not leave reviews on their publishing page. And then she blocked me and continued to block anybody else who was going on there and saying how they felt about the situation. And so time passes and still no book. And then January comes. So sometime in January this year, I was going through a lot, and it's really been heavy on my heart not having my own book. I mean, my story, like I would go traveling places and people would be, like, oh, I got your book, or my professor was using your book at our school. And for a moment you're excited. Yay. People, it's touching people and it's being used. But then it quickly hits you that, yeah, that's my story and that's my book, but it's kind of not, because they've just taken it. And then you feel like, wow, they have completely taken my story and re-exploited me, taken something so personal from me and re-exploited me. And then they won't even speak to me. So January comes and I'm just praying about it. And like I could hear Holy Spirit, like, it's been over a year, reread the contract. So I go and I look at the contract and I have an attorney look over the contract. And, well, first of all, before that, I'm praying and praying. Well, on February the 2nd, I'm just going to go and read something to y'all. So on February the 2nd, I decided I'm going to try and just be the bigger person. And I'm going to go ahead and, because I did, say a lot of stuff about them on social media. So I figured I'll be the bigger person. Let bygones be bygones. I just want my book back. And so, I wrote and I said, hello, I want to start by saying I know a lot has happened. I think both sides could have handled things differently, but we can't change the past. This year has been a very difficult year for me personally and professionally. And one of the hardest things have been the fact that I have no way to get my own book unless I order through Amazon. I can be places traveling and someone will tell me they read my book or their professor is using it in class. And for a moment there is excitement and thankfulness that at least it's saving lives and bringing hope. But then there is the moment where my heart clenches and I just want to cry. I know your intentions were never to re-exploit me, but that's what I feel like. Whatever, they obviously were. I have survived so much hell and then pour my heart and story out in a book that I have no access to. I haven't seen a penny from and even paid for 100 that I never got. It makes me feel the same way I did while being trafficked, in a sense, like I'm being used for someone else's gain. Again, I'm sure that wasn't your intentions. I am not listed on your site as an author, and I get that things got ugly, but for that I am sorry. Not to be ugly, but to fight when I feel like I am being wronged. That's my history. I apologize for my actions and am pleading with you to please let me have my rights back to my book. I am not asking for any money. I just want my book, my story. I'm not even going to get into the contract and things that were or were not done. At this point, I just want my story back. My life that I shared so vulnerably. I have went through such deep moments of depression over this to the point of just wanting to be over this. I'm not wanting sympathy. I just want you to hear my heartfelt plea for my book back. I also want to thank you and the editor for the editing and help. There are truly some great things that happened, but ultimately I have lost my story. The purpose was to be able to get it to those I reach, have it at my events and save lives and bring hope. Please let me have my rights and let's put this past us and forgive so that we can all move forward and be in a better place. So I tried to be the bigger person. And I wrote that on February 2nd. I didn't get any response. Now, mind you, I couldn't call because anytime I tried to call, she would hang up if she knew it was me. So I tried to be the bigger person and let's let bygones be bygones. Even though I was never in the wrong, I had a right to say and do everything that I said and did, but let's just end it. Let's be the bigger person. I don't hear anything back. So, as I looked over so as I said, I had looked over the contract again and I had an attorney look it over, and it clearly states in the contract, for one, if something was sent in writing and within 30 days, like you had to send it in advance, 30 days in advance, they didn't respond. So they technically lost rights to my book when they didn't respond to that demand letter in July. And there are many other ways that they have lost, they have voided that contract. So I got no response. I really didn't want to have to go through having to redo a cover, even though I wasn't particularly happy with theirs, or having to put another book up because the previous one already had reviews and sales. So I didn't want to go through all that. I would have much rather just give me my book back. And, the one that was up on Amazon had that be the same one. But instead, I've had to go a different route. Another thing that happened is I had actually went on Amazon to purchase some of my books for some care packages that we were sending out. And on Amazon, it was showing that they obviously weren't even distributing my book anymore, because you could only buy it if it was through Kindle. And the only paperback that you could buy was one new one. So a third party person had obviously bought a copy and was trying to sell it for $160. And probably because they were like, okay, it's not being distributed anymore, so I've got the one new copy, I'm going to sell it for this amount. And then there were other third-party distributors that were selling used copies. But as far as being able to go on and purchase a new copy of my book for the regular price, you were not able to, and I don't think you still are able to, because she stopped distributing the book. So when that happened, I went ahead and reached out to Ingram Sparks, and I went ahead and submitted a new cover, which we are currently working on because there were some changes that need to be made. So as you can see, it's not for resale, but this was the proof that came in, but we're making a few changes. And plus this was through Kindle Publishing, and I decided to go through Ingram Sparks. So right now someone's in the process of getting a similar cover onto the Ingram Sparks template so that it can go ahead and go live and be distributed. Now, this morning, all of a sudden, now mind you, this publisher has not spoken to me, has hung up on me, even after I wrote that email pleading for my book back, did not respond. And this morning, a couple hours ago, or 11:34 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I get an email from her. And she says that the subject is injunctive relief. And it says, Krista, you do not own the rights to your book. You will be liable for any and all instances of selling the book we wrote for you. Please contact a lawyer to understand your liability. Thank you. Talk about fuming. Right, Betty? Talk about fuming. For starters, I don't understand it. Why are you trying to hold on to my book so bad? I don't get it. You're supposed to be a Christian. I haven't seen one penny from my book that has been published since November 30th, 2017. I haven't seen a penny, y'all. Not only haven't seen a penny, I even paid them for 100 books that I never received. And like Betty says, this is the problem with these publishing houses. Remember when I said self-published? See, you sent them the stuff, but they consider it ghost-written, so therefore they're property. Right. And many people did say, because I was torn, do I self-publish? But like I said in the beginning, when this all went down, there was another lady that was partnered with this lady, and I knew her, and I trusted her. And shortly after I signed the contract, that lady went out of the country she's doing missionary work out of the country, so she is no longer partnered with this lady. And Yeah, Betty. And also I would say if you do go with a publisher and they are asking you for money in advance, that is a telltale sign to run and go the other way. Because for starters, once they have their money, they don't care to actually do the marketing that they promised you. Secondly, if they really want your story and they're really going to push and they really believe in it and they're a real publishing company, they're going to give you an advance. They're not going to ask you for money. Hi, Janice. I love and miss you. So I'm going to move forward, and I'm sure she's watching this. Hello. Because I guess maybe she found out, maybe she has people watching my page because she blocked me, so she's not on my personal page. But then again, maybe she is on my public figure page, or maybe she's on the Loving You Where You're At page, but I'm sure you're watching. Hi. You don't scare me. Your tactics don't scare me. God is bigger. God sees our hearts, and God sees what you're doing. And he is my vindicator. And this is his story. And it will be released. And do whatever you feel like you want to do. Because we both know that the contract has been severed and broken in so many ways. We both know that you were sent via email and via certified mail a demand letter back in June. So if you want to go ahead and get the ball rolling and you want to go and start a court case for injunctive relief, then go for it, because then you'll already have started the ball running, and I'll go back and get every penny from every book sold and some. So anyway, let that be known. I don't fear you. So for everybody else, that was directly to the publishing company. Yeah, I don't fear you. And what kind of a person are you that you don't even speak to me? You don't even respond to me. But now, what is it hurting you? It's not your cover. What is it hurting you? You've kept every penny of my book. What is it hurting you for me to republish it and start to sell it when you're not even distributing it? What is it hurting you? Why are you trying to hold on to my story so badly? And Miss Christian, who does that? Like, publisher or not, who takes someone's story who was exploited and you re-exploit me in the worst way? Who does that? And what example of Jesus are you? Thank God that I am a survivor who has been out of the life and already had a relationship with the Lord, because if it would have been somebody who was on the fence, you would have pushed them so far away. And that's all I have to say to you. But everybody else, if you could please just pray, because obviously there is a stronghold that is in the spiritual realm over my book, because it just doesn't make any sense. That it just doesn't make any sense that all of this is happening. So if you would just pray that whatever that is has to be severed, and my story has to be released. And just pray over me, because I'm going to continue to move forward. I'm going to continue to go through the republishing process. Hopefully here in the next week, my story will be for sale under a new cover. Yeah. So just keep me in prayer. My phone was ringing. Hi there, Bella. I love you. Exactly, Betty. His timing. And I really do feel like right now is his timing. And everything was going so smoothly, and then boom, out of nowhere, she sends that email today. But I don't have any fear. It's not like when I got that email that fear came over me. It was more of just like fuming, being hurt, and just not understanding, like, why? I just don't understand why. Like, what is the purpose? Why are you so badly trying to hold on to my story? Like, what are you gaining out of this? You don't even have it up for distribution right now. Like, it can't even be purchased. So what is it that you're gaining? And that's the part that is so infuriating, because I don't understand what the point is in all this. I don't understand why she is trying to hold on to it so bad. I just don't get it. So I just wanted to come on. If y'all could share this. The name of the publishing company is Now SC Press. I ain't got nothing to hide. You could have went on Amazon and looked up the original book and seen who the publishing company was. They are a local company out of Tampa, Florida. They claim to be a Christian company. And yeah, this is how they roll. This is what they've done and are doing to me. And then, like I said, there are still people who I get, thank you for sharing this. I appreciate you. I'm so sorry you're going through this. Thank you so much, Julie. I still have people who have, who email me and message me on a regular basis who have never received their copies of my book that actually did pre-orders. So this was, they paid for it before November of 2017 because they did pre-orders. I still have, like I said, a lady who bought a numerous amount of my books, and the publisher went and delivered them to her and took $2,500 for some advertising thing that never happened. So this is an issue. They are crooks, and they are re-exploiting, and yeah. And God sees, and God will vindicate. And, so just keep me in prayer. Share this. Again, it's Now SC Press. And she will hound you to write your story. At my launch of my book, on November 30th, everybody who came to my book launch, she was going up to them wanting to write a story. Other people that I know, she has contacted them and said, hey, I'd love to write your story. So just know that, she will come at you and try and write your story and try and sell you this dream, but beware and stay away. Again, it's Now SC Press. They are out of Tampa, Florida. So keep me in your prayers, and I'm going to keep moving forward. I am not afraid. So anyways, thank you all for tuning in. Share, warn people about them. And again, if you have a story that you are going to write, do not go with anybody who is asking you for money in advance. Because if it's a real publisher, they're not going to ask you for anything. They are going to give you money. So just beware of that. That's what I should have looked out for, and I didn't. So it's really not that hard to self-publish your book anyways. The big thing they tried to sell me on is, you won't be able to get it in Barnes & Nobles or this or that. But in reality, if you go through Ingram Sparks and you really wanted your book in Barnes & Nobles, you could get it. Ingram Sparks distributes in all the stores and all that. So anyway, y'all have a blessed day, and thank you for letting me vent. I feel better because it was all inside here and I was just ready to explode. And I will post the link as soon as it is back for sale. So y'all have a blessed day. Love you all. Bye.